Hello all, this is JP Hrisoulas, a cranky old bastard, with the aforementioned video on my Frankengrinder. This is the infamous Frankengrinder. I cobbled this together from plans I got off the internet, 14 years ago or so. I did a little tweaking on it. This is a no-weld build. As you can see, everything is bolted together. It's got that's a 14-inch serrated drive wheel on here. I'll tell you about serrated wheels. This is the tracking idler wheel, and this is the drive wheel. One of the changes I did was I went to a faster drive, and I went to a double drive on the pulleys from the motor to the actual, drive on the wheels. Now these are these sectional belts. They have little tabs that are maybe about 5/8 to 3/4 inch long, depending on the size of the belt. I use two of them. Now these things grab like crazy. I have never had one of these slip. They are a little bit pricey. You'll figure you'll be paying about 25 to 50% more for a belt of the same comparable length as you would for a standard belt, but believe me, they are worth the money. Plus, they can be adapted to just about any size, up or down. So if you're in between a size on your belts, you can make them to fit. And like I said, they last forever. They grab. I'm very happy. They're very smooth running. They're a great investment. As a matter of fact, I use them on all my grinders. Even my little giant power hammer, I got one of these on there. They're just a fantastic belt. So, about grinding wheels. Grinding wheels can be either had smooth or serrated. This is a serrated one. Here is the tensioner belt, tensioner for the belt, and this is the tracking. I'll get into tracking there. Now over here, that's the latch for the moveless arm. I was going to interchange things. Here is a flat platen, and here is the wheel I use for profiling with a rest on it. This is another serrated wheel. That's flat platen again. This is my stand. Now, what I should have done, I was thinking when I put this thing together all those years ago, I should have used aluminum for this arm here instead of steel, because it would cut down on the weight on moving these things. Other than that, I'm very happy with it. I still might one of these days, if I ever have a few extra dollars, to get some aluminum this size, and I feel so inclined to do this, I will probably change these out for the aluminum arms. But now let's talk about grinding belts. I'm going to put this back here so you can actually see what I'm talking about when I get to the point where I'm going to be demonstrating the tracking problem. Now, grinding belts just make one continuous loop of sandpaper, more or less. Now, there are several kinds of joints you can have. You do not want to have the lap joint, which is basically the joint where it just overlaps like this, You don't want that. You want a butt joint, which is like this here. You see it's put together by tape. You might not think that something the thickness of this would make a difference when it's running. Yeah, it does. It bumps like crazy. It'll knock you right off your rhythm and knock you off your stops, and just make it a real bugger to get an even plunge cut. And it can also cause striation marks running this way on your blade from your edge to your spine to edge, which depends what you're grinding in. And those will be harder than hell to get out. So just make sure you got a lap joint. No. Butt joint, yes. Lap joint, no. Butt joint, yes. Now, these grinding belts can be had any length. This is a 2x72-inch machine, which is more or less standard. I have two 2x72s, my Gutless Burr King, and two 2x60s, which is also standard size. On my turret grinders, I'm going to do a special episode on those too, because they are a neat piece of machinery. I wish they were still being made, because I could sell 1,000,000 of these things. Once people start using them and see how versatile they are, people fall in love with these machines. But anyway, as far as grinding grits, I truly believe that you don't really need a whole bunch more than like 2, maybe 3 or 4 at the most grits for a belt grinder. I do all my rough grinding on a 40 grit belt. And it moves steel like crazy. From a 40 I go to an 80, from an 80 I go to a 240, and sometimes I'll go up to a 320 or 360 depending if I have it. I don't go above 360 because I use hard carbon steel, and the first time you cut something with a carbon steel knife, it's going to turn purple, and all that polishing work you did is out the tube. It's gone. So the polish I do is a slurry black emery on a sisal wheel with an oil slurry, and it makes a really nice semi-fancy polish, and I'm happy with it, and so are my clients, and it looks decent. Gives a nice semi-satin polishy surface. Now, the problem I've been having problems with these 240 grit belts popping in both the 2x60 size and the 2x72 size. I contacted the company that was doing that. They said I'm on my own. I'm still fighting that one. I really don't want to go to public with this until I get her back from them on their official word on how it's going on. But I contacted a different company, and they rushed me out 5 belts on a sample basis, 5 2x60s and 5 2x72s, 240 grits. I put them on the machine, and here's what happened. This is not acceptable. Let me zoom on in on this thing so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, you're going to see it. You should see it. Let me zoom in a little bit more. You can really see it when the machine first starts and stops. You'll see how it wanders from left to right and right to left. You see how it's wiggling right in there? It's coming this way. That is not acceptable. That is a bad belt. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's cut wrong, not cut even. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because this was a rush order. Maybe they were a little bit in a hurry to get me something belts out that I could use. So I'll give them the benefit of that. Once this video is up and running, I will contact them, send them a copy of this video, and let them, figure out what's going on. Because I would like to get another supplier of belts because it's always good to have at least one. I'm going to show you again what's wrong. You can see how it's just, running. That's a good shot of it right there. Let's see if we can get it. Yeah, you can really see it in that one. Let's turn it on again. You see how it's just wiggling? That's right there. That's not right. That should be happening. And these belts can be very expensive. Expect to spend anywhere between $2.85 up to $8 or $10 for some of the more expensive belts, especially the belts that are, ceramic, or the really aggressive ones like from Norton or Klingspor or some of the other places. They're just, crazy expensive, but they should last. Now, here again, let me show you how the tracking situation is here. As you can see, as it's slowing down, you can see how it's just wiggling side to side, going, this way. That's not right. None of these wheels are true because they've always been true and haven't had anything to mess them up. So, all in all, belt grinders are a very, very interesting piece of equipment. Like I said, I built this one quite a few years ago. and I'm very happy with it. It was a little bit pricey. I think it cost me about $1,200 to build. Most of that, most expensive part, wasn't the motor. It was a damn contact wheel. This is a 5 horsepower motor. If you scrounge around, you can find 5 horsepower motors for relatively decent prices, if you're willing to wait and take advantage of sales. The contact wheel, they get you for that, especially the serrated ones. The nice thing about serrated is they cut quick. They're very aggressive. That could be a plus, that could be a negative. It depends on what you're doing. If you want a smooth cut, a serrated wheel will not give you a smooth cut as a smooth wheel will. But a smooth wheel will not give you as aggressive a cut as a serrated wheel. Now, I hate grinding. There is no doubt about it that I just think grinding is the most boring thing in the world outside of leatherwork. As a matter of fact, I think leatherwork and grinding to me are about the same, and I hate doing leather. But it's got to be done, so I want the material off. I want it off now. So I use a serrated wheel. These wheels should last you a long time, unless you do something stupid and like gouge the wheel up or otherwise cause it to fragment. I've had that happen, and it is exciting. You have chunks of wheel going everywhere. But it wasn't exciting when I blew a bearing in this one grinder, where I had these little ball bearings digging through the studio here like a grenade going off. That was an experience. But what to look for in a grinder is horsepower. You do not want anything under, let's say, 1.5 horsepower if you're going to do any serious grinding. Burr King 960s come with a 1 horsepower motor, and I slow that thing down. So I call that the gutless wonder, even though it is quote unquote an industry standard and has been for the last 30 years. I use it for the small wheel attachments, used for sharpening. No real heavy work on that. My turret grinders have 1.5 horsepower motors, but they are a specialist. I don't do any heavy grinding on them either. That's for basically grip handles, grip cores, etc., where I don't really do any heavy grinding. This one here, the Frankengrinder, I don't even slow that puppy down. And frankly, it's scary when you first start using one like this, because at 7,200 surface feet a minute, that's like putting your hand out going 60 miles an hour down the freeway onto the surface of the tarmac. Not a good thing to do. And believe me, this grinder doesn't care what it cuts. Bone, steel, brass, bronze, copper, wood, it don't care. It's going to cut it, it's going to remove it, especially your knuckles. All it takes is one little tap and you got a lot of pain. It won't hurt right away, but a couple hours later it'll start hurting. It's about 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock that following morning, it'll be throbbing. So wear gloves. No matter what you do, sooner or later you're going to get bit. And the degree of injury from that bite all depends on how you're doing it. Do not fear these machines, but respect them. Keep your mind on what you're doing, and don't do anything stupid like I did a couple of times, and reaching over across the wheel, turn it off, and end up with a track mark on my right arm. Not a good idea. Makes you feel like an idiot. But everybody makes mistakes, so wear your personal safety equipment. Especially your eyes. Wear your eye protection. Eye and face protection, because remember, eyes are important. Ask the man that has one. Also, be careful when you change the belts. When you first put a new belt on, run it for about 10-15 seconds. Make sure it doesn't come apart on you, because you hear a tick, 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 tick. It's going to come apart and go bam, and it's going to knock you on your butt. Believe me, after you do that a couple of times, it really makes you kind of grinder shy. But as I said before, be careful with these machines. There's really nothing in this workshop back here that cannot put the world of hurt on you and or kill you. And as I've always said, hand tools injure, power tools maim. Excuse me. But that's about it for the grinders. If anybody has any questions, oh, excuse me. That's what I get for talking such a lousy day. Anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask on these things or anything else. Now, on my computer problem. Excuse me. I think I got it licked. I'm working on trying to get the last bit salvaged. I managed to get a little bit salvaged. Email is still spotty. The same with website updates, still spotty. My sale is still going on. I still have 10 pieces on there, so if you want to get anything, that would be a good time. Yeah, and to make matters worse, Murphy's still around. I just lost my air compressor today. That was a experience as well, because I just blew the electrical circuitry went kabooey, and a big flash and a smell of ozone later. I had a little bit of electrical fire out here, but oh well, that's what happens. Things get old. I've had that grinder for a good 12 years. So, not the grinder there for about 12 years. So I got my money's worth out of that one. So, anyway, about the computer problem, like I said, I just about got it licked. I should be back up and running in there in a couple more days. I'm still salvaging files. I'm trying to get the last bit of my photos off of that because the photos for my book are on there. And I do have backups for that, but there are a few that I haven't backed up yet. So hopefully I don't have to retake those. So that's where that is. So anyway, in closing, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your interest. If you haven't done so, please hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button. And if anybody has any idea how I can get more subscribers and viewers, I'd really appreciate hearing from you. Matter of fact, if you have any ideas at all about videos and subjects thereof, please let me know. I'll do one. Do two, do three, I don't care. If I get the interest, I'll do them. So, that's the way it is on Sunday, the 2nd of November, 2025. So, thank you so much. Have a pleasant evening. May the blessings of Ahura Mazda be upon you and your family. Look for more videos. Good night.